Russia moved ahead on Thursday with a plan to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko said that the warheads were already on the move on orders of his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. This is Kremlin's first deployment of such weapons outside Russia since the 1991 fall of the Soviet Union. Leaders of arch-rivals Armenia and Azerbaijan have hinted towards normalizing their relations. This came as Armenian Prime Minister and Azerbaijani President held talks in Moscow on Thursday. They had separately met Russian President Vladimir Putin before holding the joint negotiations. The two leaders said the dispute between the two nations could be resolved on basis of mutual recognition of territorial integrity. The two nations have been locked in a decades-old conflict for control of the Nagorno-Karabakh region. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said that Pentagon is hoping that Ukrainian forces will start trading on F-16 fighter jets in the coming weeks. Austin made the remarks during a virtual meeting of Ukraine Defense Contact Group. He also said the trading will further strengthen the capabilities of Ukrainian Air Force as well as complement Washington's short-term and medium-term security agreements. Eight Ukrainian officers and 98 soldiers have been freed as part of a prisoners exchange program with Russia. Ukraine's presidential aide mentioned that the released prisoners of war are reported missing during the battle in Bakhmut. All the released soldiers will undergo rehabilitation. So far, over 2,400 Ukrainian prisoners of war have returned home. Japan has announced that it will impose further sanctions on Russia. These sanctions will come atop the ones which the G7 members agreed to last week. The sanctions will include a ban on providing construction and engineering services to Russia. Announcing the measures, Japan's chief cabinet secretary also condemned Russia's move to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus. The sanctions are part of the measures to punish Russia over its invasion of Ukraine. The United States on Thursday condemned a decision by Russia and Belarus to move ahead with an agreement over positioning Russian nukes in Minsk. Addressing a press conference, the State Department spokesperson said that Washington has not seen any indication of Russia actually preparing to use a nuclear weapon. The spokesperson also attacked China, saying that Washington's intelligence community assesses that Beijing is certainly capable of launching cyber attacks. These attacks, as per the spokesperson, could disrupt critical infrastructure in the country. U.S. President Joe Biden has said that his talks with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy over government's debt ceiling have been productive. Biden made the remarks while speaking at a White House event for his new pick to chair the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He added that Republicans are pushing for steep cuts that would increase wait times for Social Security claims and reduce the number of teachers, police and border patrol agents. The president also said that negotiations with McCarthy are about the outlines of what the budget will look like and not about default. A U.S. federal court on Thursday convicted the founder of far-right group Oath Keepers in a case related to January 6 Capitol attacks. Stuart Rhodes has been sentenced to 18 years in prison after being found guilty of seditious conspiracy and other crimes. This is the longest sentence slapped on any convict of the incident in which supporters of former President Donald Trump stormed the Capitol Hill. During the proceedings, Rhodes insisted that he is a political prisoner. Residents of Minneapolis City of U.S. marked the 3rd anniversary of George Floyd's murder. People gathered at a makeshift memorial dedicated to the African-American man whose murder sparked massive protests across the country. Floyd died in 2020 after a police officer pinned him down and placed his knee on his neck during a botched arrest. The murder had put the issues of racism and police brutality at the forefront. A family in the U.S. city of Mississippi demanded dismissal of a police officer who has been accused of shooting an 11-year-old boy. The family also demanded that the official be charged with aggravated assault. The victim, Adarian Murray, had called on the police on instructions of his mother, who was being threatened by a man. But the official allegedly escalated the situation and shot the boy in the chest. A small group of protesters also held a sit-in protest with the family at City Hall. As the race for U.S. presidential elections heats up, former President Donald Trump mocked Ron DeSantis on Thursday. Trump called the Republican leader.
Righting the ship requires restoring sanity to our society.
For that. Well, as the race for U.S. presidential elections heats up, former President Donald Trump mocked Ron DeSantis on Thursday. Trump called the Republican leader desanctimonious. He also mocked his polling numbers on videos uploaded to Truth Social. Trump criticized DeSantis' handling of a legal dispute with Disney and called it a mess. Trump, who himself is a Republican, said that DeSantis wants to prove his mettle through fake news. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador has urged Latino voters to not back Republican leader Ron DeSantis in the presidential elections. Obrador accused the Florida governor of trying to win votes at the expense of migrants. This came as DeSantis promised to build a wall on the Mexico border as part of his presidential election. His comments were rejected by the Mexican president, who said that he should be questioned over his stance. Peru Congress on Thursday declared Mexico's President Obrador persona non grata. The motion directs foreign and interior ministries to ensure that Obrador does not enter the national territory. The motion was adopted for statements which the president made against his Peruvian counterpart, Dina Boluarte. The motion was adopted by lawmakers by 65 votes to 40, with 2 abstentions. It accused Obrador of breaching the principle of non-interference in the affairs of another state. Hundreds of people protested in streets of Bolivian capital on Thursday. The protesters demanded action on sexual abuse allegations that have rocked the country's Catholic Church, burning an effigy of a priest. Angry protesters gathered outside 2 churches in La Paz to demand justice. A car collided with the front gates of Downing Street on Thursday. London police arrested 1 person on suspicion of dangerous driving. Footage showed a vehicle crossing the road towards Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's residence and approaching its gate at a low speed. Police put in place a small cordon blocking traffic along the road and began examining the vehicle. French President Emmanuel Macron paid tribute to 3 policemen who died in a road accident. The policemen were killed in a collision caused by a drunk driver earlier this week. Head of the state posthumously awarded 3 policemen with France's highest honor. Argentine Vice President Cristina Fernandez de Kirchner slammed the International Monetary Fund on Thursday. The Vice President said that the program, which has been agreed with the international money lender, is holding back the country's economy. Fernandez de Kirchner was speaking at an event in Buenos Aires' historic Plaza de Mayo, commemorating Argentina's Revolution Day. She said the original deal was political and that the IMF program does not allow the country to distribute wealth. Iran successfully test-launched a ballistic missile on Thursday, the state media has reported. The missile had a potential range of 2,000 kilometers. The launch came 2 days after the chief of Israel's armed forces raised the prospect of action against Tehran over its nuclear program. Despite opposition by US and EU, Iran insists that it will further develop its defensive missile program. After the launch, Iran's defense minister said that the Islamic Republic wants to give a message to its enemies that it will continue to defend the country and its achievements. The Turkish Interior Minister Süleyman Soylu has launched construction of new housing units in the rebel-held northern Syria. This is part of Ankara's efforts to return refugees, and the issue still lingers largely in Turkey. The project was launched during a ceremony in the outskirts of the town of Al-Ganadura. Hezbollah observed Resistance and Liberation Day on Thursday. The day commemorates Israel's withdrawal from southern Lebanon in 2000. The leader of the group issued a stern message for Israel, saying that it is the Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu's government which should fear a big war. The group had also organized a rare media tour in southern Lebanon, during which the group's members exploded targets fired from the back of motorcycles and took part in various military exercises. Residents in Somalia's semi-autonomous state of Puntland voted in their first direct ballot in more than 50 years. Long queues of voters were seen for the polls dubbed as historic. International partners of the country in Horn of Africa voiced hope that the polls would lead to increased democracy across Somalia. More than 400 deputies of Cuba's National Assembly passed a media law on Thursday. The law maintains the prominence of the ruling Communist Party, but at the same time allows sponsorship and advertising for the first time in decades. It does not contemplate the existence of the so-called independent media. This especially includes the internet portals that have multiplied in the last few years. The press and communications sector has usually been a controversial sector in the Caribbean nation. Worshippers and clergy in Serbia remembered the victims of recent mass shootings on Thursday. They were taking part in a religious procession in the capital, Belgrade. They stopped along the way for a service to remember the victims. The patriarch of the Serbian Orthodox Church conducted the service near the school where 10 people were killed earlier this month. Microsoft president on Thursday said that his biggest concerns over artificial intelligence is the use of deep fakes. Brad Smith made the remarks on Thursday while delivering a speech in Washington aimed at addressing the issues arising out of artificial intelligence. The president called for steps to ensure that people know when a photo or video is real and when it is generated by AI. Smith also called for licensing for the most critical forms of AI, with obligations to protect security, physical security, cyber security, and national security. United States Regulatory Agency on Weather issued a warning on the upcoming hurricane season on Thursday. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says that the Atlantic hurricane season will bring an average number of storms with up to 9 hurricanes. The agency estimates that between 12 to 17 storms will occur this season. Out of them, 5 to 9 will develop into hurricanes and 1 to 4 will become a major one. A giant tree in Sierra Leone's capital, which stood for centuries and symbolized freedom, fell due to a rainstorm. President Julius Maada Bio on Twitter called the toppling of the famed tree a great loss to the nation as crowds gathered to look at the wrecked trunk. The tree, called Cotton Tree, was the most important landmark in the West African country and was founded by freed American slaves. On Thursday, diggers cleaned up the wreckage, which comprised of a sprawling heap of broken branches and bright wood newly exposed to the air. A suspended sky monorail, which is also driverless, did its test rounds in Wuhan. This is China's first commercial sky train, which also provides a new option for urban public transportation. The maximum speed of 60 kilometers per hour, the driverless sky train moves on a 10.5-kilometer aerial track in Wuhan's Optics Valley, which is also a hub of technology companies. The train is expected to put into commercial operation from this year itself. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.